You want to know something that pains me? It's when people are trying to achieve some sort of fitness objective, some sort of goal, usually weight loss, um, or getting in shape in general, and they never ever meet it. That is something that really, really bothers me, and I really feel for people. Um, but let's be honest. The reason why that happens, and I'm gonna really explain it to you in this video. The reason why that happens is that most people are simply playing it too safe. The way that we tend to approach healthy eating or fitness, as in like getting your body in shape, the way that we tend to approach it is kind of more like it's very incremental. Like the saying that you can only eat a elephant one bite at a time, which I like that saying. But the point that I'm making is we're very, very conservative. We're very checkbox oriented. In other words, as long as I just do this, then I'm doing good. But our threshold for doing good is very low, and it's not really meeting the threshold for what you actually need to get results. So I'm going to tell you in this video how to get results, and I'm going to tell you essentially where most people are. All right. So when you think about fitness, I want you to think about it this way. And so let's talk about eating right now. So you probably know that if you want to get results with um, your body, that eating well, eating healthily has to be a part of that. Has to be. Now, you do have some people like Michael Phelps, the swimmer, who was known for eating 15,000 calories, extreme amount of junk food. However, he also was pretty much on the extreme side of exercise too, as most Olympians are. Doing 6+ hours of swimming a day, that's a ton of energy output. And so he was able to get away, at least on the calorie side of things, with eating a lot of calories. A lot of those are junk calories, but he had some healthy calories in there as well. Now, when it comes to eating, most of how we tend to do is closer to the nothing side. Now, when I say doing nothing in regard to the eating, I'm talking about people who are just like eating the full standard American diet, the sad diet. You're eating junk food every day. You're eating snacks, unhealthy snacks, candy, eating fast food a few times a day. You're drinking soda all day long, or sweet tea if you're here in the South, or whatever. You're doing energy drinks. Um, you are drinking copious amounts of coffee with unhealthy creamer. Like powdered creamers and all that kind of stuff. You're doing all that. That's on the nothing side. You have no sort of, you barely touch a vegetable. That's nothing. Now, the too much side over here. This is the side of people. This is the side of people who are like doing like an extreme diet. Like for example, like the young lady I heard of who was trying to get results for a beauty pageant, and so she was eating the cottage cheese and pineapple diet. That's extreme. That's not even balanced. It's extreme. Or people who are starving themselves. And trust me, I'm not trying to pick on anybody who's dealing with that. Obviously, if you're dealing with an eating disorder, you need to make sure that you get the help that you need. But that's the extreme side, starvation, or like these diets that are only subsisting on, where people subsist off of one food, that type of thing. Now, as far as the threshold for fitness results, let's say that threshold to get results is somewhere here. Actually, let me amend that. If you're somebody who's been doing absolutely nothing, your threshold for getting fitness results is probably going to be somewhere over here. Okay? Or it'll probably even be closer to nothing, to be honest, but just kind of indulge me for a moment. Now, for example, let's say that you start, um, I don't know, you have one healthy meal a day. Like you start eating like one salad a day. Okay. And so you're kind of like somewhere in this region. Okay, you're still not seeing results though. And then you start drinking a little water. You replace one of your you don't drink water. I mean, you don't drink soda for dinner. Maybe you drink water instead. And so you move that marker like somewhere around here. Um, and you're feeling a little better, but then you're still not really seeing results. And then finally you do something like you stop eating after 8 o'clock. And so then you move from here to here. And now after a couple of weeks, you just kind of notice, oh, my clothes fit a little bit looser. You're starting to see results. Okay? And so you kind of hold what you got right here. You're seeing results, but then guess what happens? You get to a place where you're doing the same thing, but that's no longer enough. Okay? And so what do you need to do? You need to make some more changes. Now, before I go any further though, like I said, a lot of times what we're doing is we're being very incremental. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but what I want to suggest to you is that if you really want to see results, you need to be open to making drastic changes, okay? So like for example, instead of you just eliminating sweet drinks at dinner time, you eliminate sweet drinks altogether. Let me erase this here. You eliminate sweet drinks altogether, okay? Maybe you drink coffee, but you drink it black or just with the cream, or it's only on a special occasion that you add a little sugar to your coffee or something. So a change like that for a person who drinks sweet drinks all the time is probably going to really push you over the edge. Or you sharply reduce or even eliminate carbohydrates. I don't think you have to eliminate all carbs, but at least the unhealthy ones, like eliminating processed food, or that type of thing. So let's say this is you eliminate Eliminate sweet drinks. You eliminate processed carbs. Okay, and that really pushes you over the edge for a while, and you're really seeing results. These are the kind of things you really need to be thinking about, because what happens is, and please hear me, what happens is a lot of times we just try to do a little bit, or we eat like one salad, and then we think that we're really doing good, and we're not, and we find ourselves in a holding pattern, and we keep on giving up, and then we start back and do our, we eat a serving of greens, or we eat a salad, or we take a supplement, or we do something like that, and we really think that we're doing something, and we're not doing anything. We're not doing enough to get any results. But to really move the needle, you have to be willing to make some real changes. Let's see some other things that we can do here. So we can also, like I said, you can stop eating after dark. That's another thing. I know a person at my church who just stopped eating after, I think it was 7 o'clock for him, and he lost a marked amount of weight. Is a noticeable amount of weight. You might start doing something like fasting occasionally. And when I talk about fasting, I mean giving up food for a period of time, just drinking water. Now, again, that's something, especially depending on your level of health, you may need to be careful with that. You might want to talk to a doctor, or like very gradually kind of maybe do like 10 hours of fasting, then 15, then 20, then 24, something like an incremental approach. Another thing that you might do is drastically, well, I'll just say eat way more vegetables. Like making your diet where all of your meals are mostly vegetables, because vegetables are very nutrient dense. That means they have a lot of nutrients, and they're very low in calories. So they're not dense in calories as well. And so these kind of things are going to be pushing your, they're going to be pushing like your threshold. Actually, no, I don't mean to do that. They're going to be Well, yeah, your results threshold being here, they're gonna kind of keep on pushing you further and further this way without it being too much though. Okay, because these are healthy things. Okay, so you need to make sure that you're really making changes that are going to go past whatever the threshold is for you seeing the results. Now let's be straight up now. You're gonna still have times where you plateau. Depending on the level of change, you still probably plateau a bit. However, keep in mind also that eating is not the only thing we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing other things like exercise as well as stuff I'm not going to mention in this video, like getting more sleep, um, and reducing our stress levels and other things like that that actually have an impact on our health as well and can make differences even with weight loss and stuff like that. All right, so let's talk a bit about exercise. Now, again, most of us we're not really doing anything. That means you total couch potato. You work an inactive job like almost all of us do. Sitting at a desk, but the most exercise you get is walking to your car, okay, and then walking from your car to the office and walking from your office back to your car or whatever, and walking to the bed, okay. Now, too much, which most of us can't be accused of doing. This is gonna be like basically you exercising to the point where like you're no recovery, especially when other parts of your lifestyle like your diet and stuff are bad. You're not getting enough sleep, you're eating really bad, you're exercising all the time, and so you're really not supporting your body. What happens is you're breaking your body down, breaking body down. Okay. Now, most of us are not even getting close to where we're doing too much exercise. Okay. Now, the question is if this right here is your results threshold, what do you need to do to push yourself past that threshold? Now, what a lot of us are doing is we're somewhere in here. So we're walking. Walking is, definitely great exercise. I recommend a lot of people doing it. But you might be walking 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes 3 days a week, 3 times a week. And don't get me wrong, that actually is being beneficial to your heart health, lung health, stuff like that. But it's just not doing anything. It's not moving the needle in regards to you getting results at all. You might have 2 pound weights, 2 pound hand weights, and you're pumping those things when you're walking and stuff like that. You go to a fitness class 1 time a week, fitness class, okay? You might be doing these things, you might lift weights, but again, you're lifting like 2 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds. You're doing shoulder press while you're walking, or you're doing curls. You're not seeing any changes. Maybe you even saw a teeny bit of something, but it still wasn't nearly what you were going after. Now, the question is, what do you need to do to go from here to here? What kind of changes do you need to be willing to make? Now, again, I have to say, you need to know your body, and you also need to know that what your results threshold is going to be different for somebody else's threshold. However, you knowing your body will know when you go past your results threshold where you actually start to get real results. So, for example, let's give you some examples of some things that you can start doing to actually start seeing results. So, we'll say lifting heavy weight. So I'm not saying you got to go in there and just start stacking plates and then go and hurt yourself. I'm not saying that. This is a weight that's heavy for you to lift, and you're doing a balanced weightlifting routine or calisthenics routine where you're training your back and your chest and your back. You're training your biceps and triceps. You're training your quads and hamstrings. You're training your lower back. You're training your whole body. Okay, but You're lifting weight or doing calisthenics where you actually tire out the muscle. Now, this is important because it's by actually tiring the muscle out. I'm not talking about hurting yourself, but like really getting the muscle fatigued where you're doing at least, I say, 6, 7 reps, um, at least those amount of reps where you can get to where you're almost not able to lift anymore. This is what's going to stimulate your muscle to grow. You want your muscles to grow so that you can sculpt your body and kind of get a body shape that you want. This is you walking, aiming for, I say an hour, maybe 4 times a week. Okay. Like really pushing the envelope, not being safe, not pitter pattering. You may even jog. I'm not as big of a fan of jogging now, even though I still do it every now and then. Um, but you're actually not. You're doing it where you start to see body changes. Let me see. You might be doing sprints twice a week. Okay, like I do hill sprints. I actually need to get back into them, but maybe twice a week, and I'm doing like 10 minutes at a time. I'll sprint and then get a full recovery and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. These are stimulating your body, not being afraid to stimulate your body to actually change. Okay, what's some other examples of activity that we can do where you can start getting results? Um, oh, okay, I'll say this too: sticking to a consistent routine. And sorry, y'all, I'm kind of all over the place because I'm trying to cover a lot of ground. I can't overemphasize this. A lot of the reason why people don't get results, it's not because you're not going to the gym. It's not because you're not showing up like at the park or at the fit or well, and I won't say fitness class because that actually is not necessarily prove my point. But it's not because you're not showing up. It's because you're not being consistent and you're jumping around. A lot of times people are jumping around and you may do a fitness class, but then you might go and you won't do that class again until the end of next week. So one time a week, or you do this class and then you do that class and then you do that class and then you do that class. But you're not doing anything consistently. You lifted weights and you went through and you did all the machines. But then you go to the gym again, you're like, let me go to let me go lift some dumbbells. There's no rhyme or reason. And so because you're being very inconsistent and you're jumping all over the place instead of doing like the same routine, as I like to say, day in and day out, like for example, like if you're doing a full body routine, you're doing that at least twice a week, week after week after week after week, and making sure that you maybe add a little bit more weight each week or add another rep each week or something like that. Unless you're doing that, you're not going to see results, or your results are going to be spotty. Okay, so this is what you need to do to get results. You need to understand you have some results threshold that you need to supersede with your diet and with your exercise. Don't play it safe. Let me say this. Uh, um, I'm kind of thinking too fast. Sorry about the sloppy. Don't play so safe! Exclamation points. Don't play it so safe when it comes to making healthy changes, because what happens is you'll spin your wheels forever. You'll spin your wheels forever. You'll get frustrated. Maybe you quit, or maybe you're consistent, and then you kind of get into this place where you're just like, well, I'm doing something, but then you settle for less than what you actually can get. I hope this makes sense for somebody. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments. Stop playing it safe. Stop playing it safe, okay, if you want results. If there's one thing I've learned about getting fitness results, it's that a big key to losing weight, building muscle, and getting stronger is making sure that you make continuous progress from one workout to the next. This is why I have tracked my workouts for the past 20 years. So I've created a special digital fitness journal that you can use to track your workouts the same way that I do, to ensure that you make the continuous workout progress necessary to get the results you desire. You can record exercises, sets, reps, and even take notes to keep track of those nitty gritty yet important workout details. There's also space to track your big fitness goals, as well as a spot to record your weight and waist circumference so you can really see your results. Get your copy today of my digital fitness journal so you can start moving toward your results right now. Link is in the description.